Get ready to feel
the power.
This is Colin Crandall over there, and myself, Adam Roorda, with another amazing episode of MMA Power Hour. Feeling the power for sure. And we've got some amazing guests, as you see on the screen right there. We got Chris Daukaus, Curran Jacobs, and Dylan Bowker coming on. Thank you guys for hanging in there. We've occasionally got some technical difficulties running around here in the studio, but got it taken care of. Took a lot more time than we thought, and we'll be jumping right into our first guest here real quick, real soon. And before we do that, Colin, I want to give a huge shout out to our partners over there at Nesa's Hemp. They have one of the best CBDA products on the market, if not the single best CBDA product. I've been taking it for a while, and man, it's just
it really works. It really works.
It really works. I've taken a lot of CBD products, CBDA products, and this is the only one that's really worked for me. So I highly recommend it. Go on over to mmaph.nesashemp.com. Get yourself a bottle and the best discount you can from them by going to that URL in your browser. It's just mmaph.nesashemp.com.
You won't be disappointed, and it will help out the show.
Absolutely. All right, Colin, do you want to go ahead and jump into our first guest here? Let me make sure I got everything set up right here.
See it, man. We'll get him going.
And we've got, let's make sure I got that there. We sure do. Okay, perfect. We'll go straight into this. And thank you so much, Dylan, for hanging in there with us.
Yes, really appreciate it.
Ooh. Really feeling the power today.
Gotta be feeling the power.
Skype dance is back.
That's it.
Boom, boom.
Hey, what's up, Dylan? Are you there?
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Doing pretty good, my friend. All we need you to do is hit the video button when you have a chance, and we'll give you the proper intro because we are live. Excellent. And what is that? There you are. You're sideways. There you go. Now we're rocking. Excellent. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very excited to have this first guest on our show. This is going to be the very first time. He is an important member of the MMA Power Hour team with an amazing podcast of his own. We'll be talking about a great MMA mind. In fact, this is a man who believes that families that watch fights together stick together. So he will actually not allow his wife, his kids, or even his mother-in-law to turn on the TV unless fights are on. So happy to have him on the show, Dylan Bowker. How's it going, Dylan? Were you expecting that?
No, I wasn't, to be honest. That was a great intro, though.
Thank you. I have a feeling you probably don't have a wife, kid, or mother-in-law that are living with you, or am I wrong? Or was I right?
Well, not with the kid dynamic or anything like that, but no, I mean, definitely expose the family to some fighting they wouldn't be watching otherwise.
I like it. Absolutely so. So I want to ask Doc here if I can get a little bit more volume, because it seems to me like Dylan is speaking normally, but it's coming through kind of low. I appreciate that. All right, so we're rocking and rolling. Here we're talking. Dylan, talk a little bit so that we can gauge that, would you? We're doing a little sound check. Talk a little bit if you wouldn't mind, Dylan.
Hello, I am Dylan Bowker. Make sure you check out Bouts Talking Bouts MMA Power Hour podcast.
Excellent. You're good. Love that Canadian accent, and I think for some reason Adam might have on the screen Bouks instead of Bowker. He doesn't. He fixed it. Good. We thought we'd have that. Okay, so Dylan, back on to the serious things. You're a good guy with a good sense of humor. So you know MMA. Let people know here where they can find Bouks Talking Bouts and what that format's like and what the show is about.
Yeah, well, Spreaker is a great platform for checking out what I've been doing there. 22 episodes deep right now, so people can check out the MMA Power Hour podcast in that sort of way. Bouts Talking Bouts, though, available on multiple platforms, pretty easily accessible, though. And yeah, just, been interviewing fighters for a number of years now and just been contributing in that regard. And I just really enjoy the audio kind of component, so it just seemed like a perfect harmonious marriage there. And yeah, just been cranking out some episodes and got a couple more in the tank I'm looking forward to dropping, so things have been going good.
Excellent. How long is the show? About an hour or a half hour, or does it vary?
It can vary. I mean, generally it's anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour, just kind of like one-on-one individual fighter profiles, sometimes post-fight interviews, sometimes in the lead up to it, like a couple weeks out, sometimes fight week itself. So yeah, just in terms of duration, though, generally 15 minutes to half an hour for the most part.
And each show pretty much has the one guest, right?
Yep, just a one-on-one kind of format, just kind of telling the person's story, just getting to know what they're about.
Very cool. And on Spreaker, I'm not that familiar with it, although I've heard great things about it. Can people look for like a time that you're going to drop something, live? Or I don't think you're really dropping anything live, but is there a standard day of the week or time that you usually drop the shows?
That can vary a little bit too. I generally try to drop episodes on Thursdays, though, and to that point I actually have a couple dropping tomorrow, so a little added bonus for all the people checking out Bouts Talking Bouts this week, a little something extra.
Very, very cool. I like it, man. And you've had some great guests on. And so tell us a little bit about your background in MMA. How long ago were you first aware of it? And then at that point, did you kind of get into it and watch it and stay with it the whole time? Or were you aware of it before you got really, really into it?
Well, I would probably say that MMA got on my radar late 2004, I would say. I'm a big pro wrestling nerd, and I was reading through this book of 100 greatest pro wrestlers, and they kept talking about this Kazushi Sakuraba character, and they kept mentioning MMA, and I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. I gotta check this out. And I also had the backdrop of being a boxing fan, so it just seemed like a perfect harmony of both of those things and more. So just based on that, I kind of was just off to the races and just been a hardcore fan ever since.
Absolutely. And you're over in Canada. What city and what province and city are you in?
I'm in Oshawa, Ontario, so that's within the greater Toronto area.
Very cool. And were there some fighters in those early days from Toronto? I know that we had GSP kind of just coming out right around then, and I think David Loiseau, but who else was around then? Or was there anyone from Ontario?
Yeah, I mean, certain guys like Mark Hominick, I always enjoyed watching.
Yes,
Sam
the
Stout.
Machine and Sam Stout, yeah.
Yeah, just area guys, the Team Tompkins individuals, just, yeah, guys like that.
I was just going to mention that it was Sean Tompkins, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What a great coach and a great guy he was. I always remember his presence. Young, good-looking guy with that spiky blonde hair. He, I think, had been a fighter at some point himself or something. What the heck happened? He was like not even 40 when he died or something. Isn't that right?
Yeah, just a really tragic sort of situation for sure. I mean, just like not even a guy that is an exemplary character in the MMA sphere, just a great man in general, and just a real loss for a lot of people, no doubt there, but just left an indelible impact that still exists in the London area to this day. All those guys are still carrying on the MMA tradition out there in London, Ontario.
Absolutely. And it's been a long time. I know you said you started getting into it about 2004. He passed away in what, 2009 or 10 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Seems like a lot of icons in MMA passed away around then, with Mask from Tap Out, Charles Lewis, and then Evan Tanner and Sean Tompkins, and I think another top MMA commentator. It's tough time for the sport, but man, so many amazing things going on in our sport. What do you feel are some of the biggest changes from when you started watching in 2004 till now? And maybe you have some positive and some negative, or maybe they're all positive, or all negative. Let me know what a couple changes maybe you've noticed, or what you feel in your opinion is different now from when you first started watching.
I mean, I'd say there are a couple differences in as far as like what the fighters are doing out there. Like there's the fluid expression of going back and forth between the different disciplines. Like there was some of that when I started watching for sure, but I guess maybe like a little clunkier. Like I feel like the fluidity is very pronounced now. So just in the physical action, I noticed certain differences too. And also probably in just like the greater visibility of it. Like for a while when I was getting into it, for quite a few years actually, there was the sentiment of the sport being called UFC. You kind of have to field a fair bit. So I feel like that's been subverted a little bit, whereby it's now known as mixed martial arts, and that's kind of the viewpoint people have now, which I think is good. It's indicative of progress. It's not just like one promotion at the top of everything,
Absolutely. And when you first started watching, it was right near the end of the run of Pride Fighting Championships. Did you catch any of their pay-per-views in the year or two that you were watching before they went bye-bye?
Oh, I mean, I was a very sad lad when Pride folded, to be completely honest. Like, that was my go-to promotion for sure. Like, I mean, I still toss on the UFC Fight Pass a fair bit, and I just go back and comb over some of those events. Like, I mean, the 2000 Pride Openweight Grand Prix, I was just watching a couple nights ago there. So yeah, it has great replay value too, but definitely like while it was still an active promotion, I was avidly checking out the shows. Actually, Fedor versus Crow Cop took place a day before my birthday there. So that was like my little gift back in the day.
Nice. And now back in those days, I don't know if you want to throw out how old you are. I'm sure you're not that old a guy, but were you in 2004, were you able to watch what you wanted when you wanted, or were you still back at home with the folks?
I mean, I was still back at home with the folks, but still had some level of autonomy to kind of check out what was going on and kind of navigate things there. And I mean, they've always been pretty encouraging about the combat sports kind of stuff. Like there's never been that like you have to like hide it or tuck it away kind of thing. Like, I mean, I don't think they have the direct experience of being into it as much, but I think they just view it as something I'm into, and yeah, just that kind of dynamic.
That's cool. There was never any time when your mom walked in and said, "What is this terrible violence? Get this off the TV."
I think she's just confused as to why I like it. She's like, "You're such a sweet boy. Why do you watch people choke each other unconscious?" You know?
Makes sense. That's cool. Hey, let me get your opinion on some fights coming up this weekend, because I know we've only got about 8 more minutes. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We'll have you on for a full segment somewhere down the line. But in the last 8 minutes, let's jam it with something that could be what people are looking for, is some insight from both you and I coming up here. There's no UFC for the first time in several weeks, but we do have Bellator There's a few good fights. Notable, I think, are Neiman Gracie against Jason Jackson, but a lot of people don't know who Jason Jackson is. There's also Jack May, Tyrell Fortune. But let's go to the top, and that's the fight that people are really looking at. And I think this is the final round of one bracket of the featherweight tournament, where Patricio Pitbull Freire is going against Emmanuel Sanchez, because I believe the winner of the other bracket has already been determined, and that's going to fight the winner here. However, can you corroborate what I'm saying as far as that?
Yeah, well, the winner of this bout will not only be Bellator's world featherweight champion in a lineal sense, they'll also punch their ticket to the finals of the Bellator Featherweight Grand Prix, and they'll be taking on AJ McKee, who already solidified his spot.
That's right. Sorry,
yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so very interesting here. So the odds makers have Pitbull almost a 3-1 favorite. Emmanuel Sanchez, a tough guy, but I think Pitbull takes it here. Although the lower weight divisions, the older you don't have as long as shelf life, and I don't know how Pitbull I think has got to be like 35 now, 36, and I think at some point he's going to lose a step, because at featherweight you just have to be really fast. But I think Emmanuel Sanchez might be a similar age, so I don't know if that's going to be a factor here. But I think Pitbull wins this fight, and then against AJ McKee, that's going to be really interesting. But what do you think? You give Emmanuel Sanchez more than a 3-1 underdog chance here, or no?
Well, that's just it. I mean, I think the odds are a little off the mark. I mean, as a guy that's been streaking over his last few fights there, has, rebounded pretty gracefully since taking that initial loss to Pitbull. And I think that's partly informing the line a little bit. Just, you've already seen a scenario whereby this guy is beating the other guy, so presumably it's going to happen the next time. But even in the last card, I mean, we see that with the whole Stipe and Ngannou dynamic. That's not necessarily the case all the time. I do ultimately favor Pitbull in this fight. And to your prior point about the weight cut being more difficult as fighters age, I wonder if after these next two bouts, and if Pitbull gets the idealistic outcome, wins the featherweight Grand Prix outright, I wonder if he prioritizes defending that lightweight championship and just going with 155 for the foreseeable future after that.
I would think he very well might. I honestly, because the older you get, your body starts becoming thicker and more dense and heavier, even if it's not, fat weight or anything like that. It's just, becomes you become heavier and harder to cut weight. So yeah, it does make you wonder. Not only that, but it's like, if he does lose to AJ McKee, a lot of fighters camps will come out and say he was dead at the weight. I remember in boxing they would say that a lot. When a guy went to a different weight class and lost, he was like, I was dead at the weight there. Don't worry about that. Scratch that from my loss sheet, as if we could. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, should be a good fight. And then also coming up, starting for the first time on TNT, the live fights from one championship, and we're looking at Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson against the champion Adriano Moraes. I don't know that I've ever seen a title fight in MMA where the champion is like an 8-1 dog. But when you're going up against Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson, it makes sense that you would be that. Although I think this Adriano Moraes is a tough guy. Probably, though, Mighty Mouse wins, as he is still one of the GOATs, I believe. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very curious fight. Like I was saying the other day, I don't think it's a hyperbolic statement to say this is one of the more important flyweight fights in the history of MMA, just with the backdrop of Demetrius Johnson's accomplishment and just Adriano Moraes' localized resume to one championship. I mean, he was their inaugural flyweight champion, only guy to hold the belt 3 times. I mean, the guy's only been in one fight that was a non-title fight in the last 6.5, 7 years, something like that. So yeah, I mean, the line I find pretty wild, to be honest, just because, like I said, he has such a built-in legacy with, one championship and whatnot. And I think also stylistically, and Demetrius has admitted this as such, like Moraes has the kind of not just musculature, but the technique that gives him fits generally, just like the lengthier, lanky kind of guys that are prone to like the grappling exchanges and just kind of like smothering and gaining those dominant positions. So I think I ultimately do favor Mighty Mouse if you had to twist my wrist for a prediction, but I think more parity exists in this fight than I think a lot of people are, realizing.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think just laying -700 Man, even on Mighty Mouse, you hate to be on the line there and something happens where Mighty Mouse turns his ankle or something like that, and all of a sudden the losses compound if you bet your paycheck, which I never recommend. But yeah, I agree with that. Well, Dylan, we got to wrap it up here. We'll definitely have you on again soon when we don't have technical difficulties. But man, I want to let people know this is really a great guy to watch. He really knows about MMA. He's watched it for 15, 16 plus years, even though he's still a young guy. So he pretty much grew up with MMA and really loves it. His podcasts, Bouts, Bowker on Bouts, or no, tell us the name again and where people can find it. You can do a better job. Sorry, I just butchered it.
No worries, man. It's called Bowkes Talking Bouts, and yeah, available on quite a few platforms, but the go-to one I think is Spreaker. And just to the prior point of us talking about the Bellator card, people can look forward to a couple Bellator-related interviews dropping in the next day or two leading into Friday's card. I have interviews with Roman Feraldo as well as Jason Jackson leading into the card. So check out Bouts Talking Bouts on Spreaker, and you can look forward to listening to those, as well as my Terrell Fortune episode and the Chris Gonzalez episode. So yeah, a lot of Bellator. Sure.
Absolutely, and Jason Jackson fighting Neiman Gracie. So I think that would give a lot of people good insight there on the opponent, because I think that's a co-main event. So that's awesome. Let people know real quick the best social media source to find you on and support you.
Yeah, people can follow me on Instagram, Dylan James Bowker. They can also find my Facebook page, Dylan James Bowker. It's at Dylan Bowker on Twitter. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just appreciate you guys having me on. And yeah, looking forward to future opportunities coming on the show, and just a great platform with the MMA Power Hour audio podcast there. So yeah, thanks for the time.
You're very welcome. My pleasure, brother. You take care, Dylan. Dylan Bowker, you guys check him out. You're doing great work. Keep it up.
Thanks, man.
You got it. All right, Adam, and it was great to talk to Dylan. Great representative, really good dude. And whenever we're ready, we have our next guest.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to take me a second here. It doesn't look like he's actually online. We can give him a try and get the. Well,
okay. And you could actually turn that lower when you have a chance down there. I actually didn't have my earpiece in correctly, which is why I told you to turn it up. Sorry about that.
Oh,
now it's too loud a little bit, but not.
There we go. Dylan was sitting there waiting for us to hang up too.
Yeah. Okay, Dylan.
I'm like, what's going on? Why is my screen here?
I know, right?
Okay. Well, let's give him a ring. Let's just go into the Skype dance after I get this set up for that. All right. And then if we can't get him, that'll happen. So hang tight with us, guys. Make sure while we are doing this to also get on over to our social media real quick. Give us a like, comment, share, anything you can do to help get word out about MMAPowerHour.com and our show, which is on Fight TV and the Hannibal TV. A lot of amazing partners coming on board and helping get word out about us. We're probably the single most, well, we definitely have the highest engagement out there on social media, and probably the hottest MMA show out there.
Absolutely. We try to be hot.
That's the reality.
Absolutely. And then what happens here, we have people mentioning that they're missing a toy poodle Piper, whoever that is. Pitbull and Sanchez is going to be insane. Jay, you are right. Absolutely. Thank you for the comment. Do you mean Teal Piper, the wrestler, Roddy's daughter? She's pretty cute. Got to admit, no hate for Teal Piper. But anyway, so yeah, absolutely. We appreciate that. You guys.
Before we do anything else, I have to make a change here on something.
Not a problem.
Because I have rankings a little backwards.
There you go. No problem. So while Dr. Adam Roorda is doing that, no UFC this weekend, but we got Bellator, and we have one championship starting next Wednesday on TNT. And Jay is asking if I have any opinions, or we have any opinions on Usman Nurmagomedov. Yeah, Usman Nurmagomedov is a brother or cousin of Habib, and he's tough dude. I think he might be a heavyweight. No, that's Kamaru Usman's brother. Usman Nurmagomedov is a pretty tough dude, though. Yeah, I sometimes there's so many of these great guys that train at AKA Habib's cousins, and a few of them are you can go a little higher than that, are Nurmagomedov. So but I think Usman Nurmagomedov is pretty tough. Pretty much all these guys, from the best to the worst in that camp that train with Habib, are killers. So yeah, definitely that's my answer, Jay. All right, whenever you're ready, Dr.
Well, let's try to get into this here.
See it. He should be there. He said he's all ready, and he said his Skype would be the same. So let me see.
He said he's ready?
Well, the time was good, and he said the Skype was the same. Just tried to call you on Skype, brother. Are you there? Question mark. Okay. And yeah, no, the last time I connected with him was about 40 minutes ago. But at that point, he had said the time was good. Excuse me, and his Skype address should be the same as it was last year.
There he is.
There he is. Curran, are you there?
No, he's not.
Now he's probably there. Curran, can you hear me, brother?
No, he's not there.
Oh.
He has a different one than the other one that we had.
Oh. Curran, old buddy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you, my friend?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Good.
Excellent. We got you. We're live. Let me give you a proper introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, happy to have this next guest on the show. I can honestly say this guy is a friend of mine for probably over 3 years now. He's like the son or the younger brother I never had, who is a way better athlete, more talented, better looking, and all those other things. So so happy to have him back on the show. Welcome, Mr. Curran Jacobs. How you doing, brother?
Thank you for that, my brother. I'm doing well.
You got it. So for those of you guys that don't know, Curran is the world catch wrestling champion, and catch wrestling is something that I think a lot of people in MMA have heard of. Some know it very well, and some don't. A lot of people know that that Josh Barnett was trained in catch, and a few other people. But give me a minute on that, Curran. Let me know who other than Josh Barnett was doing some things involved in catch. I know my friend Gene LaBelle was, but let us know if there were some other MMA people that knew something about catch and or coaches, and also your lineage in catch wrestling.
Yeah, Randy Couture is one. That's, he's been training in catch for years, and he was, training with Neil Melanson, who worked under Bowker, who worked directly with Gene LaBelle.
Yep.
Then of course you have Eric Paulson,
yes,
coach.
Yes.
CSW. Out in Japan you have Sakuraba.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but as far as there's not that many out there that are capable of teaching catch wrestling, because they just don't know it. There's that video out there with Daniel Cormier being like, "What's this catch wrestling?"
Right.
He's like, Randy Couture told me about catch wrestling. Why aren't I learning that? I don't want to learn this jiu-jitsu stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing against Brazilian jiu-jitsu, of course, but yeah, catch wrestling it's very lucrative right now. It's not many groups train under it, with the exception of Barnett, Couture, and Paulson, and the ones that I mentioned. It's really a hidden gem in the grappling world.
Absolutely. And one of our guests mentioned maybe Shinya Aoki, possibly over there in Japan, may have done a little training in catch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. Japan's big on it.
Yeah, I know they loved Carl Gotch over there, who I know that a few people put in some trying. I know Gene learned from Carl Gotch, and I know in Japan they loved him. And then you learned from a kind of an old timer, didn't you, or one of his students originally?
Yeah, I learned from Raul Ramirez with the Catch Wrestling Alliance, and he learned from Roy Wood, who is one of the oldest living legends in England right now, and he's at the Snake Pit Wigan in England.
Nice.
Legendary place. It's on my bucket list. I want to go there and train with those guys. They're just made of granite.
Yeah.
But Raul learned from him, and he also John Strickland. I learned from John Strickland with American Hook Wrestling. His lineage is more of the Carney style, the American Carney. Which I'm a fan of, that history. But yeah, he has a direct link to Henry Colin, who learned from Martin Farmer Burns, who taught Frank Gotch. So
yep.
It's pretty cool. I like saying that, but really, I mean, you can train with it doesn't matter. Catch wrestling, as long as they are paying homage to the English style, the American style, and of course, the Japanese. Yeah, dig in. You won't be able to get enough.
No, without a doubt. And one of the things for people watching that I think is special about catch wrestling is that it is something that does seem to come even more natural to guys that were collegiate wrestlers. And Curran was a Division I captain of Michigan State Spartans. And so one thing I've always talked to Curran about is there are very few guys that are really good wrestlers that seem to get to be really good at submissions. It seems like some of them will get that arm triangle choke, neck and arm choke from the top, because that's kind of a natural thing for wrestlers, and they get that down good, but or maybe a rear naked choke, but a lot of times nothing more. And a lot of the wrestlers don't even really get that good. They just want to go to the ground and pound if they're on top. And then you have the rare guys like a Habib or a Jake Shields, or guys who have some wrestling, and even the Chris Weidman, I think, was pretty good back in the day, but it is rare. So I think you having those really good collegiate wrestling skills and being the world's best catch wrestler, and so having all those submissions really allows you to stand out. And I think that's why you're already 3-0 in MMA right now.
3-0 as an amateur. I was #1 in the state at middleweight as an amateur, and then I was 1-0 as a pro. And then COVID-19 struck and kind of blew the. I was 1 week away from my next fight. As a matter of fact, I just realized you and I spoke a little over a year ago. March 4th was the last time I was on this show of 2020.
Right.
Right before the.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about my fight, and. Yeah, man, that was 1 week away, canceled, and then my last 2. So I've had 3 fights canceled since the last time we've spoken.
Yeah. Now you've done a catch wrestling match, which you won, I think, or was that canceled?
Yeah, I did. Yep, I did just recently in New Jersey.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So you're keeping in shape. But, man, you have so much great stuff going, Curran. I mean, not only are you the world catch wrestling champion and an upcoming MMA fighter, but you're also an actor who has been in films. You're teaching seminars. You're helping to coach people. And so much going on, man. And have you made like any decisions with this kind of year forced to be off because of really nobody other than the UFC doing much, or Bellator? Are you still kind of on the warpath as far as that, or is the acting taking a priority, or where do things stand with you? I know you got a son and you've got to kind of be focused and can't just say what the hell, or like Tom Cruise said in Risky Business, you can't just walk around saying, sometimes you just have to say what the fuck, right? Right, right.
Yeah, so it's been a wild 2021 so far. Had the opportunity to be in a film in Las Vegas. I'm really excited about, and I'm directing currently a catch wrestling documentary.
Nice.
On the history of catch wrestling, and just I think because that's where I think it is education, educating MMA fans, educating grappling fans on the rich history of catch wrestling. So I'm doing that, and I just got cast as the lead in a feature film that's going to be shot in Iowa in November.
Nice, congratulations.
So thank you, brother. I appreciate it. But as far as I would love to compete. I've had my heart broken 3 times, 3 strikes you're out. But I'm crossing my fingers that I'll have a fight next month.
That would be awesome. I can't wait to see it. And that would be your second pro MMA fight. 3-0 as an amateur, 1-0 as a pro. And I know that Randy Couture really believes in you and is a personal friend of yours. And I know that he's a tough guy to make friends with. I think he has a lot of friends that he's not accepting any new ones probably for the last 5 years or so. So you got in with a guy who's very selective, and he believes in you with the catch wrestling. I know there's him on video kind of talking about you in in regards to catch wrestling. And yeah, I just think that it would be fantastic to see you up there with some of the best guys, because I know you would do well. I'm gonna let this next guest ask one question to you, but I did want to announce, that, ladies and gentlemen, we're wanting to kind of keep the flow of our segments. We have some people that will throw in a tip here and there, and that would really help the show out. So we're really kind of wanting to keep it in the future that if you want to ask a direct question to the guest, you got to try to throw us a little tip here. But I'll make an exception this time for my brother Curran Jacobs, because not that he cares, but I like this question. So Curran, one of our guests asks how much cardio training you do on an average week. And I don't know whether he's meaning if you have a fight coming up or if you don't. I think that makes a difference, but maybe tell us maybe what it would be like in both cases, because I know when you don't have a fight coming up, even if you don't have any seminars coming up or anything, you're not sitting around and getting 3 Little Caesars pizzas to eat with you and your son and drinking a gallon of beer or anything, I would imagine. But what's the difference, and what's the cardio routine, I guess, if you do have some sort of a fight coming up, as opposed to just if you're doing your regular hard training to keep in good shape?
Yeah, when I don't have anything lined up, I try to wrestle at least 3 times a week. Keep that grind. Wrestling is such a grind, and when I don't have anything, staying in wrestling shape is pretty damn good. I do a lot of running, but when a fight is booked, believe it or not, I do a lot of like Rocky type stuff that I believe would benefit me in a fight, positionally, on the feet, on the ground, doesn't matter. I just do a lot of wrestling, because honestly, there's no better cardio than wrestling. It's really tough. So
it is.
That's what I do. That's it. There's no secret.
Yeah, no better workout actually to burn calories than doing wrestling training. But
no way.
Yeah, it's amazing, the pushing body weight in. But let me ask you this, Curran.
Yeah.
Back in the day, if you remember, let's say the end of the last decade and kind of up to the middle of this decade, we were hearing about a lot of fighters having to cancel their fights because of injuries, and a lot of them were knee injuries. And I remember AKA, those guys were getting hurt all the time, and I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, because they're one of the best camps out there. We've had Coach Javier Mendez, and he even said they chilled it out around 2007. Yeah. But what can you do with the fact that wrestling is so rigorous that even the best conditioned guys can so easily get hurt? What can you do to not have that happen? Is it just backing off the gas pedal a little bit, or is it being really mindful and aware? Because with your knowledge of catch wrestling, I would imagine what comes with that also, and you being a college graduate as well, is some knowledge of anatomy. And are you aware maybe to help your partners and yourself make sure not to plant your foot this way so that you tear your knee? Or how can you wrestle and not hurt yourself when you're over like 25 years old?
It's tough, man. I was kind of silly even with my catch wrestling training at first. You just got to be very careful and, communicate with your partner. If they're doing something that's that hurts, you gotta be like, yo, man, like, let's lose the ego a little bit and just train to get each other better.
Yeah.
Is a big one. When ego jumps in, you get 2 guys going after it really hard, and that's honestly how injuries happen.
Yeah,
being silly and treating your partner like he's your opponent for a world championship.
Yeah,
I see that a lot, and I love that a lot of MMA guys, especially in the UFC, are being vocal about that. Being like, don't try to kill your opponent, your teammate in practice.
Yeah.
You'll have a lot longer career and a hell of a lot less risk getting stupid injuries. I personally know a fighter from Michigan that had to stop fighting because of a brain injury.
From training.
Yeah, it's extremely unfortunate. So just be smart. be smart, lose the ego, and train to learn and better yourself, and take it out during competition.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Well, we have, I think, about 15 minutes. No, we got about 20 minutes left. So I'm so excited to get a lot of questions that I have into you here and get your reaction. Awesome. So let me start throwing them out there. So let's recap a little bit what we saw this past week, because I really want to hear your opinion on this. So the main event, Stipe and Francis, right? My first thought is Stipe is 38 years old. Not that that's old, especially at heavyweight, but it's not young. So he's 4 years older than Francis. He comes in 10 pounds lighter than he did against Francis before. I know he was kind of maybe around this weight against Cormier, but my first thought, and I'm not trying to say that I know more than Stipe's camp, because I don't. But my first thought was, man, he's coming in light. But at 38, I just don't think that's going to make him faster than a 34-year-old fighter, A. And then I said, B, if it's not going to make him faster than Francis, all he's doing is making the weight disparity a lot different. He's going to have less momentum on his takedowns because being so light. And I didn't understand that thought. And then it looked almost like that manifested itself. It looked like, now we know that Francis has had Kamaru Usman training with him. We know Francis knows from 3 years ago when Stipe just schooled him by taking him down 10 times that he had to learn his wrestling. But my question for you is, Stipe shoots. He gets shut down. Francis sprawls, like briefly comes around the side and takes his back and hits him a few hard times. And then it seems like to me, by being shut down one time, Stipe just maybe went to his corner and the guys looked at each other and said, well, no more takedown attempts for us. And I'm thinking, why would that be? What my thought would be, don't just toss in the towel because you got shut down once. Khabib Nurmagomedov, that's the guy. You shoot and you shoot again, and then you shoot again and you reshoot.
Yeah.
But what do you think the thought was? Was it just that he kind of got lit up a little bit, or maybe the fact that he shot and it seemed like Francis so easily shut him down? Did he feel the weight difference in when they were locked up like that, and that he basically said, oh man, this guy's so much stronger than me now. It's not like 3 years ago. There's no point in me even shooting on this guy. I don't know. It just, my thought would have been keep shooting and shooting and shooting, but he didn't. What do you think was the mindset there? What do you think of the fact that he came in that much lighter and the whole result?
You know, him coming in lighter really didn't make too much of a difference. Okay. In my opinion, I was like, okay, great. He might be a little faster, okay, whatever. Okay. But little side note, Francis Ngannou was training at Extreme Couture when I went and had a session with Ryan, and Ngannou was working. And yeah, man, it's not surprising that he had the takedown defense that he did. His hips were heavy, right? And that's the first thing that I said when Stipe got in, and he was deep on that leg. Yeah. When he tried to come up, Francis just executed a beautiful sprawl, but he kept heavy hips. Right. And I think that Stipe felt that. I think that he felt that. He got tired from that attempt. He got tired from that attempt. When he struggled he gave that a lot of effort. Right. And when Francis, when he shut that down, I think that in his head, and who knows, the nerves of the moment could have gotten to him. You never know. Yeah. But because he did rush in, he admitted that he rushed in, that caused him, getting KO'd. He got caught. Yeah. But he rushed in. Yeah, he didn't look as comfortable or as patient this time around as he did the last time they fought. Yeah, absolutely. And when they had that exchange that Stipe kind of caught Francis, my first thought was right then it would be the time to shoot again. And it seems like what Stipe kind of thought was, man, I think I just tagged this big man. Let me step in the pocket and see if I can maybe finish him. I think that was a mistake. He got super excited. Yeah. Yeah, he was caught in the moment. He got super excited. He saw an opportunity. He rushed for it. But yeah, he should have totally taken that big man down, you know.
Yeah.
And Ngannou's strength and athleticism, I mean, Stipe's a tough wrestler. He's a better wrestler. He's got to take him down and impose his will, you know. And ironically, that was the same situation with Cormier with Miocic, you know. Don't stand, do what you do. Go to your bread and butter.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know. But I think that my hat's off to Ngannou, because he did throw a beautiful sprawl into what I consider to be some extremely heavy hips that wore Stipe out a little bit.
Gotcha. And you saw him training there. Did you see him training at Extreme Couture with Usman there, or was someone else there with him?
Usman wasn't there that particular day, no.
Okay, but so that's another question. So that was a good sprawl. It would have been interesting to see if Francis could have shut down another takedown or 2 or 3 more, other than just one.
Oh yeah.
You know, right? But that leads me up to the question. I know he's beaten Curtis Blades twice, although one of them I think was a little early stoppage. And I'm only picking Curtis because right now in the heavyweights I don't think have a lot of guys that have a lot of wrestling, or at least not a lot of the guys that are well known have a lot of wrestling. What if Curtis Blades, you know, recovers, he can shake off getting caught by Derek Lewis, and suppose they matched him up against Francis again, and he's a young guy, he's 4 or 5 years younger than Francis, and suppose he's you know, and he's going to come in there about 245, 250, so he's not going to be as small as Stipe, he's going to be within 10 pounds of Francis, and he's younger than him, and do we expect that Francis all of a sudden now is so good at takedown defenses that he could just laugh off Curtis Blades shots, especially if Curtis shoots and keeps shooting? Or are we not thinking maybe that Francis is quite that good yet at shutting down wrestling?
I think that every day from here on out, Ngannou's going to continue working his wrestling, his sprawls, because he knows,
yeah.
You know, just like Izzy, like Izzy knows now.
Yep.
Israel Adesanya was just exposed from a guy that likes to take it to the ground, you know. So
yep.
I think that him and Francis are going to continue sharpening that up, and that's scary.
Yeah, it's true.
Time for them to sharpen those things is scary, given the absolute devastation they unleash on their feet. So
yeah, without
yikes,
a doubt.
Man.
Yeah, it's, you know, but isn't it surprising that at 31 years old, Francis Ngannou, a guy who didn't grow up in the collegiate wrestling system in the United States because he was in Africa and then he was in France, that at 31 he had virtually no wrestling, defensive or offensive. And now it's obviously improved at 34. But my thought would be, I mean, you know personally how hard it is to wrestle, and you're younger than Francis. So how can a guy in his mid-30s from Africa and France, not growing up in the collegiate wrestling system, make such progress in his wrestling? Isn't that unusual? Is it just that he's that good of an athlete, or just the people around him, or you know, is he really not, obviously right now, even considered a really good wrestler, but I guess just decent enough to be better than he was? Or what are your thoughts on those multiple questions?
I think I think it's a combination of things. I think Francis Ngannou had a very extremely rough upbringing. I actually just read an article on him recently. He had a terrible upbringing. He doesn't even like talking about his childhood.
Yeah.
So I think that it is his heart and his personal journey to rise to the top and to do whatever it takes when it comes to his training. And I think that he was fortunate to cross paths with his team and his coaches. And yeah, man, I think it's mental. I think his mental toughness, because I was shocked. I was shocked with that sprawl. That was a Division I level response to Stipe, and I think it shocked Stipe.
Yeah.
We didn't see more of it. Stipe didn't shoot again.
Right.
And that's a great sign. You know, I even teach my wrestlers. I'm like, punish them with your hips. Make them pay for taking a shot.
Yep.
You don't want them comfortable being offensive with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that Ngannou has a rock solid mind, and I hope with this success, as he continues to be successful, I hope that he stays in this place that he's in right now, because whatever mental state he's in right now, if he can maintain that, he's going to have the crown for a while.
Absolutely. He is definitely a force and a good guy, well-spoken guy. I loved the Embedded, where he found a family that was kicking a soccer ball around, a little kid, and he kicked it back and forth with the kid, and then he said he'd love to work with kids, in the future. So This is a good guy. Gentle giant, it looks like.
Awesome.
Yep, until he's in the cage. So let me ask you, you have fought at 185 for your 3 amateur and 1 pro MMA fights, but you're looking at 170. Are you thinking that may be down the road, or are you hoping maybe for your next fight, your second pro MMA fight, to be 170?
Yeah, the fight next month is welterweight, so I would be dropping down in an area that I haven't been in since 2012.
Right.
But my knowledge on weight cutting and all of that has just continued to grow, and I'd be walking around 200, 205 and drop down to 185, no problem. This is going to be a little tougher cut, but I look at the legends like George St. Pierre and Khabib, and George St. Pierre and I are the same walk around weight, and I think that's someone that's not too bad to look up to in this sport.
Yes.
So welterweight, is definitely going to be my stomping grounds.
That sounds good. And I think 2 of your teammates at Murcielago are both welterweight. I think one had been middleweight briefly, but you have both Chaos Williams and Joaquin Buckley at welterweight. And so I think that they probably walk around as heavy as you, both of those guys, or one of them at least, don't they?
Yeah, we're all around the same, and it's funny you brought them up, because those are 2, honestly, the major inspirations for me to drop down to 170 as well. Just grinding with them and listening to them, and that was when the bulb really went off.
Yeah.
It just seemed like the smartest thing to do.
It makes sense. And I think you would just have no disadvantage at 170. Not that height is everything, but at 185, you're most of the times guys are going to be 4 inches taller than you, right?
Yeah. Daquan Townsend, my teammate, right. He was another guy. That dude was dropping from 230 down to 185,
wow.
And I was like, woo! We went live. We went live in the cage.
Nice.
And man, afterwards I was like, whoo!
Really heavy.
You were a huge bag of bricks in there, my friend.
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's great that you got those guys there, man. Murcielago is a great school, and those guys are all doing well, and excited to see what you all do. But yeah, man, that is going to be great, and I know you can make it, and that would be fun. Is that going to be so? Is that the fight in Iowa, or no? I think you mentioned Iowa for a film. You got a film coming up, and by the way, I think the Las Vegas film you did, Randy was in that, wasn't he, or was he not?
Yes, he was. He is in it. Robert Davi, Richard Grieco, Dean Kane, Mindy Robinson.
Nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun film, man. That's literally, I had the most fun I've ever had in my life on set.
That's awesome.
It was a blast. It was a blast. And it's a horror / kind of action flick, and yeah, it's gonna be sweet.
That sounds awesome. Is there a release date on that, or is there a name of the film yet that you can release?
No, it's called The Demon Pit.
Okay.
Fallen Angels.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. If that works out, and I hope it does, and people take notice, I know you can be kind of wherever you want to be now in Hollywood. But what if that worked out, man? Could you ever picture yourself and your son moving out to Los Angeles? Near where I am, or would that be something you would hate to do or could never picture doing, or what do you think? I know you love Michigan. You've been there all your life.
Yeah, my son's here. my son's here. I'm here.
Yeah.
This is home, you know. And, you know, another person that I look up to is Jeff Daniels. He's a Michigan actor.
Great
and,
actor.
You know, obviously has a wildly successful career. And his home's Michigan. He loves Michigan. I love Michigan. So, yeah, I'm going to remain a Michigander.
I love it. Michigan pure, man. Well, I like it. They say you
pure Michigan.
Yeah,
that's
pure
right.
Michigan. That's it. They say you can take the boy out of Michigan, but you can't take the Michigan out of the boy. With me,
no.
you know, they can't take it out of me. I'm out of Michigan logistically, but Michigan's in my heart. You know, I cheer for all the teams. And, you know, and it's good that you want to stay there. It's a great place. Well, we have about 5 minutes left with you. Love to get your opinion on some upcoming big fights if I can. In fact, how exciting is it that the UFC is going to be back with a full attendance? In fact, it's sold out live in Florida. I love that, man. I think that I just, you know, I like that the governor there said, yeah, we're done playing these games. If you're elderly and you're sick and you have a compromised immune system, stay home, and you can wear 6 masks, and you put a mask over your head if you want to on all sides. But if you're not, you know, let's go back to life. And we're going to hold a UFC event, and you can be elbow to elbow with all the people you're happy to be elbow to elbow with, and all the people you're not happy to be elbow to elbow with, and it'll be great. So that I can't wait for that, and I'm sure you can't either. But let me get your opinion on that. If Dr. Adam Roorda can lift that up a little bit, keep going. Want to get to the 24th, the big event. There we go. No, 17th, one more. There we go. Okay, so 3 title fights, I think, or at least 2. But Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal, number 2. So in the first fight, Masvidal had about 1 week notice. And also someone from Lapeer, Michigan is watching here. I don't know if you know where that is, Curran.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Awesome.
What's up?
Awesome.
Lapeer, Michigan.
Yep. It's Kurtz or Xertz. So hello there, Kurtz. Michigan is the best. So this time Masvidal has said he's had nearly a full camp. It's not a week notice, and he feels confident the result is going to be different. I don't know that I feel confident, but it could be. What do you think? Tell us your insight from being an MMA fighter and a longtime catch wrestling competitor. A week notice isn't good for an MMA fighter, and if you have 3 or 4 or 5 weeks notice, it can make a big difference. But would it make a big enough difference to have this fight look a lot different than the last fight did? And who do you think wins that Usman versus Masvidal number 2?
I love Street Jesus.
Yeah.
That's my dude. Hey, I love that guy. I'm a big fan. But, yeah, I don't see it being different. As a matter of fact, Usman didn't look his best in their first fight.
That's true.
I mean, he didn't. He didn't look as aggressive or in all areas. He just didn't look as solid. So I think we see an even more solid Usman, and that's scary. That's scary. You know, I think that I don't think Jorge stops him from taking him down and doing whatever he wants with him, or dominating him against the cage again. You know, I mean, Usman has more options than Masvidal, unfortunately, for Street Jesus, man.
Yep, I agree. The women's fights, do you watch them much? I know Rose Namajunas is going up against the champion from China, Weili Zhang, and then Valentina Shevchenko going up against Jessica Andrade. And that one is very interesting to me, the second one, because Andrade used to fight at bantamweight for several years, even though she's only like 5'3". And then before there was a flyweight division, she dropped down 2 divisions to strawweight, was the champion there briefly, and now is actually coming up to the division that she probably always should have been at, which is flyweight, and going up against Shevchenko. But do you have any opinion on either of those women's fights, or are you not really that familiar with their work?
Shevchenko's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
She's I mean, she's a shield maiden. She goes after it.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited for that fight. But even more excited for Rose because, you know, I'm a huge fan of Thug Rose.
Yep.
I think that all around she's just an incredible human being, and that makes me root for her even more when she fights, you know. And it's gonna be a great night of fights, man. I don't think anyone's gonna be disappointed with that show. And I'm really happy that it's getting its big crowd back.
Yeah. Me too.
So yeah, it's just gonna be dynamite.
Absolutely.
All around.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. Last quick question here for you. Back on this last fight card, did you see Tyron Woodley go up against Brazil's Vicente Luque?
I was heartbroken for Tyron, man.
Yeah.
Look, you know, he looked good.
He did.
Looked really good.
He did.
Things were going. I mean, he just looked so relaxed and so smooth, and like the dominating Tyron of old. He just got caught, man. He got caught with an unlucky shot. Was tough as nails trying to recover.
Yep.
Couldn't make it back. And hats off to his opponent, man. He capitalized on the situation. But yeah, I was heartbroken for Tyron because that was his fight.
Yeah, it really was. But, you know, I had Tyron on the show about 3 years ago, but more recently, 6 months ago, I did have Vicente Luque on the show. And he's a unique athlete. You got to admit, he's pretty tough guy. And I know he didn't grow up in the U.S. wrestling program, but having trained with Usman for several years and guys at Sanford MMA and before that, Black Zillions, you know, such as Rashad Evans. I think this kid, Luque, is for real, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, he's dangerous. There's no doubt about it. And that was a big win for him.
Yeah, it really was.
That was a bit, you know, it's going to be, and it's only going to launch him forward in his training, and he's going to carry that momentum into his next fight. And yeah, that's going to be a scary thing because I think that, there's a lot about him that we haven't even seen yet in the cage. I think he's just getting started.
Absolutely. Well, Curran, I'm so glad to talk to you, man. I can talk to you for hours. I'm so excited to see all the great things that you're doing. Yeah, man, and we'll definitely stay in touch. Let me know that fight in a month. Is there any location? Is that in Michigan somewhere, or you know?
Oh, no. It's still being...
in the works.
It's still being discussed. There's no details yet, but you know me, I'll shoot those over to you as soon as I find out, my man.
Definitely do, brother. I really appreciate you, Curran.
Fingers for me.
I will do that, man. Well, things are going well for you, and I know they will continue. And you know, you have all my support, and you're a true friend, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us here and have another great chat.
Man, thank you so much. Adam, thank you as well, my brother. It's always a pleasure. Thanks again.
Adam definitely thanks you back. He's working on the board, so I don't think he has his mic live. But yeah, he said you're very welcome. And same here, Curran. You have a great one, brother. You get some sleep over there in Michigan, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, I will. Talk soon, brother.
Take
have
care.
A good night.
You too. All right. Dr. Adam Roorda, Curran Jacobs, a great guy, so much potential. I think he's 31 years old now, so he's still young enough to make
and gonna be able to do a lot. I mean, he's not 23, right? But in a lot of ways, he kind of is because he's been doing all of this catch wrestling for so long. He's just starting to reach his prime and coming right in as a pro.
Exactly.
There's no better situation. I really am thinking that everybody that is tuning in really needs to keep an eye out for him. We will release information for his next fight because I'm telling you this right now, that guy right there.
Yeah.
He's unbeatable.
Oh, yeah. At 170, he is a serious force because he is a big man for 170. He's about 5'9.5", I think about 5'10", so not super tall, but he's tall enough that no one's really going to dwarf him that much at 170. And nevertheless, his wrestling and his not jiu-jitsu, but catch wrestling and submissions are absolutely sick. The guy is amazing. He's a beast. He doesn't have years of damage from strikes on his body or his head or concussions, and you know, he's been through hell with catch wrestling, but he's fresh. He's a fresh 31 years old, and he's ready to
everybody should definitely keep your eyes out for him, and make sure to be checking out MMAPowerHour.com, the website. Get on over there, not just our social media, because we will be releasing information on his fight, and I'm serious, very serious when I say this. He is a force to reckon with, and he will be in the UFC in no time.
I really think so.
Or Bellator if they pay him enough
within the next year. Yep. Really feel confident.
Even if it's not in the next year, I'm just telling you this. He's got a few years, a good 5-6 years before he's even sliding from his prime.
I agree.
Unless he gets injured, and knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully not, but I think he'll be good. Great guy, amazing guy, super charismatic. He's a true Michigan boy, a very good person, and a nice person, a genuine guy. Really love that. Curran Jacobs, he's a great brother. Anyway, we are ready.
We are ready to go in our Skype dance.
Let's do it.
Skype dance does actually work now.
It does. It's amazing. We hear the music.
Bum, bum, bum. Skype dance.
Hey, Chris, are you there? Can you hear me, Chris? Daukaus.
Hello?
Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, yes.
Excellent. All we need you to do is hit that icon that looks like an old movie camera with a diagonal line. Excellent. Fabulous. We got you there. If you as long as you see you're centered, you're good. We'll be doing split screens as well as as back and forth. But we're live, so I'm going to give you a great introduction here. Ladies and gentlemen, I am super excited to have this next guest on the show for the first time. Last week we had his brother, UFC middleweight Kyle Daukaus, and this week is UFC heavyweight Chris Daukaus. Both guys are amazing, and I don't know if too many shows have had both brothers, so I'm either that show or we're one of a few, and I'm honored to have them, right? And welcome to the show. I believe Kyle said number 10 UFC heavyweight Chris Daukaus.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Thank you guys for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Well, you guys are from Philly. You guys have worked hard. I know that that Kyle said that you're the older brother by about 3 years, and I told him, and you're kind of getting up there a little bit quicker than him, but I said that's only fair. The older brother gets there first. It's absolutely perfect that he starts getting his a little bit quicker. So
that's right.
Yeah. So it's got to be a great feeling though, man, for you guys all these years just growing up together and working out and then getting into all the MMA skill sets at the same time, and then all of a sudden you're in the UFC almost at the same time, or in fact I guess you got there first and then he came a year later, or how long after was it?
No, he fought for the Contender Series a year before we both got signed. So we both got signed last year. He fought in June, so technically he got there first. He fought Brendan Allen, and then I got a short notice call for August to fight on UFC 252 against Parker Porter.
Nice.
And,
Yeah, and things have been looking up, man. You're both doing well. You're on this great streak, 3-0 with all stoppages, man. That's got to be a fantastic feeling. Did you? And I know they say that there's more chance of stoppage at heavyweight, but the bottom line is, even that being the case, there are some decisions, and there's a lot of heavyweights that don't win 3 in a row. So, were you Were you pretty confident in all those fights, or was the first fight kind of a scary adrenaline dump, being all of a sudden you're in the UFC with someone want to knock your head off?
No, it was for me it's just a formality. I went through the motions with my brother when he made his debut, so I knew what to expect. The level of competition in the UFC is world class. It's the top of the food chain. The only time I was ever really starstruck or in awe was actually when I had to fly to Abu Dhabi to fight in Fight Island. My brother didn't make the trip with me. He was training for his own fight camp, so he didn't want to take any time off, and I would have done the same thing.
Right.
But that long flight, the 16, 18-hour flight, whatever it is, and staying there and staying in Yas Island, and you get off the bus from the quarantine and everyone's screaming your name. You win, you come back to the hotel, and all the hotel employees are there. They're throwing party poppers at you. They got balloons for you. It was really cool to experience that, and that was the first time I was like, wow, I'm really here. So yeah, that was really, really cool experience.
It's gotta be. Was that the first international airplane flight you ever had?
First and only one. Yes.
So let me ask you this. I know that you guys are professional athletes, you know, most of you in your 20s or early mid 30s, and so you guys are not old, but you know, do you feel okay from all the training you do, you know, when you show up after 15 hours, does anything hurt or really not even at all?
Yeah. I mean, you know, just going through your training camps, you're definitely going to have your bumps and bruises along the way, and you know, you collect a nice little, you know, trophy of injuries that you have to deal with, and you know, you get them healed, and then you know, it's, you know, I feel some days when I wake up, and you know, especially up here in Philadelphia, it's been raining for about 2 days now, so
right.
I feel all the aches and pains and the onset early arthritis setting in to some of my joints in my hands. So it takes me a couple minutes to get out of bed in the morning. But,
yeah, absolutely. Can the flight possibly, if a fighter has too many injuries, or maybe if a fighter is in his late 30s or 40, can that flight possibly be a negative enough thing that it could influence the performance of that fighter?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's definitely a long flight. I know that sometimes, like if you have an injury, like my coach, he's had a couple knee problems with his knees. So if he flies to Vegas, or if he has any like other crazy like long flights, like when he went to Abu Dhabi with me, I know his knees blew up, so they filled with fluid, and it was kind of restrictive and on what he could actually do as far as like training and like moving around. So if you're a guy who's got those kind of injuries, it's definitely something that you have to plan for. And you know, we're all professionals, and we all should be taking care of our bodies. And it's another added step that, you know, if you're taking care of your body and your opponent's not, you're going to get that much more ahead of your opponent, especially, you know, come fight night.
Absolutely, it makes sense. And it's funny because the proposition of going someplace like that would be so cool, and you know, for anybody, and you guys are young guys, and it's just got to be, you know, a blast, that great treatment.
Absolutely.
And, you know, although I would bet you, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some of the older fighters, just thinking about the length of the plane, may tell Mick or Sean, you know what, I'd like to pass on that. You know.
Yeah. It's definitely an experience. Like I said, after that fight, my post-fight interview, the flight sucks. But it's something super cool to fly out there, to be treated like, you know, like a king, to be treated the way that the UFC and all the employees at the Yas Hotel were treating us and everyone that stayed there. It's just something that everyone should experience, in my opinion. And I'm glad I got to experience it. And if they want me to go back, I'll be more than happy to go back.
Absolutely, because I think they'll probably be back there sometime soon. Well, when is your next fight? I think we're only about a month away. Let us know the date and location, if there is one, and the opponent.
I actually don't have anything scheduled as of right now.
That's right. It was Kyle that done.
Yeah.
Kyle's in 2 weeks, I think, right?
Yeah. He's actually 10 days out. So so April 10th, he's fighting. I'm gonna butcher this guy's name. I think his name is Aliaskhab, and then some Russian name. Yes, I'm really sorry. I couldn't pronounce it. I'm really sorry. He's going to be, you know, April 10th. He's the co-main event, so it's the main event,
right,
the co-main event, and then my brother. So
that's awesome.
It's going to be on ABC, and my brother's really excited to be that high on the main card, and especially on UFC on ABC too. So
absolutely. And can you guys be in each other's corner? Probably in the regional promotions you would, but in the UFC, has that happened, or do you want to do that?
Absolutely. That's something that we do all the time. Like I said, the only time my brother hasn't been in my corner was when I fought in Fight Island.
Right.
But every other time he's been in my corner through the regional scene and in the UFC, and same thing with me, vice versa. I've been in his corner for absolutely every fight that he's ever had. So
that's awesome.
It's something that it's something that's really cool.
Yeah. Now, there's a positive dynamic being brothers, but is there ever a chance of, like, is there ever a negative dynamic where, like, you would say something and then the other brother might get pissed off and say, "You always tell me that"?
Yeah. There's definitely those things. You know, especially in the middle of camp when it's a grind, and you're trying to work on specific things, and if you're just having a bad day, you're getting beat up in training. It's been a long week, and you just don't want to hear what anyone has to say. You're always trying to be a student of the game, but it's just it's the repetitions of what they're saying. You're like, dude, I get it. I get it.
Right.
I know I have to fix this. I know I have to do something about this. I'll do it. I'll take care of it. Just don't tell me about it tonight.
Right, exactly. That's it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense, but your brother's definitely got your back, so that's a good thing.
Exactly.
So do you have your eyes on any opponents? I know that your brother Kyle definitely had some optimism, and I think he said that I think we were talking about Stipe and Francis before it happened, and then he said the winner, whoever wins or something, then he said, and then we'll wait until you get to them and beat them and go from there. But I know you're not probably thinking of Francis or even Stipe right now, right? But are there any names that you can talk about that are being thrown around, or are there any names that you either want to call out officially or that you think would be fun fights?
No, I mean, as of right now, no name has been given to me. I've just been waiting on the next fight contract. So whenever the UFC wants to send it over, I guess we can get things going. But looking at the division, not to be like calling anybody out or just the people who are above me, Rosenstrike would be a good fight. That would be super interesting. Sorogan, that would be another interesting fight for me. It'll be interesting to see how John Jones plays into the whole heavyweight division. If he he's more than likely going to get that title shot right away against Francis. But there's the whole hiccup with the money issue, so we'll see how that goes. And I just don't think that John would take another fight at heavyweight before he gets the title shot. So he's going to go right into that title shot, and then whoever else doesn't have a fight and they'd like to fight, I'm down to fight. It doesn't matter to me. Right. Sakai is right above me, so I would fight Augusto Sakai, no problem. And then, let's just keep going up and to the title after that.
Absolutely. Sakai, that would be a very interesting fight. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
There's some good guys also, like Marcin Tybura, Sergey Spivak, I think. Some good dudes there like yourself. So let me ask you, with Francis winning, did that surprise you that was a result? And then did how the fight play out surprise you at all?
I had Stipe winning. I thought it was going to be more or less a continuation of the first fight. I didn't think that Francis was going to be able to make those type of wrestling changes and his improvement in his wrestling game. But clearly, he's a freak athlete. He's training with the best people in the world. He knows exactly what to do. It was a little surprising. I didn't think he was going to finish him in the second. But the moment he stuffed that the first takedown off the single leg, you kind of got the idea that fight was not going to go the same way.
Right.
And then he just started landing big bombs, and he put Stipe away.
Yeah. I just wonder if Stipe coming in as late as he did was smart. I had a good friend in our previous guest that said maybe it may not have had that much effect with the fact that Francis had made the adjustments in wrestling. But I almost figure if your opponent's 263 and you're 245 as Stipe was when they first fought, there wasn't it's not like a noticeable difference. But if you're 233 and they're 263, I mean, do you think him having some extra weight could have allowed him to be successful with that takedown, or could have allowed him to be hitting harder? Do you think against Francis it may have helped a little, but not that much?
Yeah, it definitely plays a factor, but it has to be smart weight. He can't just go around just eating whatever he wants to eat and just to pack those pounds on. Like if he was going to do it smart, obviously it's lifting, it's doing big heavy deadlifts, it's big squats so that you have that functional fitness strength. And then when you're grabbing a hold of somebody, you're pushing them, you can wear on them that much. So there's a big difference between a 230 pounder wearing on you and a 265 pounder. And I don't know if Francis cut any weight to make 265,
right,
or if he just is naturally like 263. But he's a scary guy, and he's definitely someone that in the future I would like to test my skill set against.
Absolutely. Speaking about weight, is there ever a number that you have in your mind that you like to target for your weight? If it's a secret, you don't have to tell us, but there's a question. And then also, what has been different weights that you've weighed in over the last several fights in the UFC and outside the UFC.
All right, so before I got into the UFC, I made my amateur debut. I was around 230.
Okay.
So after that, you know, got into professionals. I became a police officer. I kind of let my diet, you know, really go to shit. And then, yeah, I ballooned back up to 265, and then there was cases where I was stressing about my weight leading into fights because I was back up to like 285. The heaviest I've ever been in my life was 297.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was really bad. But then, you know, in between fights, I would just go crazy with like partying, like drinking, eating whatever I wanted. You know, chicken wings, pizza, cheesesteaks, everything, all day, all night. Gain that weight back. There was a few times earlier in my career, so maybe I was like 2-2, 2-1, when I was stressing about the weight, and then that was just, I wasn't being a professional when I should have been a professional the whole time.
Yeah.
Once I got to the UFC, I weighed in at 243, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think I'm actually lighter than that right now. I think I woke up, I was 240 today. But then for Fight Island, when I fought Rodrigo Nascimento, I weighed in 227.
Oh wow, that was light.
Yeah, it was super strange. And I pretty much contribute that to the flight,
Right.
like you were saying, and the time difference. The time difference over there is completely different. Like I fought it was a 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Their time when I fought. So I was staying up all night, and then I had media obligations. I had other UFC obligations I needed to do during the day. So I wasn't sleeping that well, and you know, I was staying up all night, working out in the middle of the night, and I think that played a major factor in my body shutting down. Like I can remember sitting there eating food, and normally I would crush that and then something else, and
Right.
I can barely get through what I had in front of me. I was like literally eating half of it, and my body's like, we're not going to have it anymore. So I was like gagging on the food.
Wow.
So it was super strange. You know, my body freaked out. So it's definitely something that my body's not used to.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to have to plan accordingly if that happens again.
If you go to
But
Fight
the
Island,
ideal
right,
weight for me would probably be like 230, 235. That's pretty much it.
And you're about 6'2", 6'3", or something?
Yeah, about 6'3", yeah. 6'4" on a good day if I'm not slouching, but yeah.
There you go. And so that's the pretty good weight where you can be fast. Would it vary on your opponent, man? Like obviously you're not fighting Francis tomorrow, but if your opponent was a muscular 263, 265, would you maybe aim to be a little bit more than the mid 230s? I would imagine, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely focus more on adding some weight, definitely some strength. You know, I was just going back to like big heavy deadlifts, squats, and things like that, just trying to get that functional strength. But then I don't want to lose my agility, because that's a big thing, and especially my speed at this weight. You know, I'd probably try and pack on maybe an additional 5 to 10 pounds. Nothing crazy. I mean, everyone at heavyweight has power. I'm not concerned about the power. The only thing I would be concerned about was losing my speed and my agility in there, just because I think that's what separates me from, you know, a lot of the heavyweights out there.
Yeah, you do seem to be quicker. You seem to be really quick for a big guy. Absolutely. By the way, one of our fans, who I think is either in Scotland or from Scotland, he goes by Shinta, he says Gon and Daukaus would be epic. So
I completely agree.
Yeah, so that makes sense. What do you think? Hopefully, if that happens, you know, you get by Gon, and then he's not in the picture. But if you didn't have to fight Gon, or if Gon started to get closer to Francis, these are two guys that I don't think they were like lifelong friends. In fact, I don't even know. They're both French Africans, although I think Francis is from Cameroon, raised, and then went to France. I think Gon might be just native French, but nevertheless,
I believe you're right.
Yeah, but nevertheless, they've trained for at least 2 years, 3 years, or something.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen if Gon wins his next fight? Is he going to start screaming for Francis, who's his training partner? I mean, that's got to be kind of awkward. How do you think that would work out?
Yeah, it's definitely an awkward situation to possibly fight your training partner, or fight, you know, someone you've trained with in the past. But he's like, I believe they still train together. I'm pretty certain in that they still train together.
Yeah.
But I did recently see an article saying that Cyril, he might have put a tweet out or something like that. Cyril saying that it would be nothing personal to fight Francis, and Francis feels the same way.
Right.
That it's something that it's a sport, it's a business, it's what they both want, and they would put the friendship aside to both chase that dream. And you know, I respect that, and I would probably do the same thing.
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess like when Usman fought against Gilbert Burns, right? It's, you know, not a fun thing, but you kind of have to, you know, right? Yeah. Do you think though, like, I know that some people would say that it can kind of remove the killer instinct or the wanting to finish someone, you know, because it's your friend, and in some situations the fight may look almost more like a sparring match. Yeah. But do you think with in the big stage in the UFC, a lot of fighters would just somehow make sure that doesn't happen? Because I think Usman didn't seem like he was trying to really annihilate Burns, but it also didn't seem like he was holding anything back either. And then when the finish opportunity came, he finished him.
Yeah, and that's a strange dynamic that you have to deal with when and if that comes up. It's a friend, it's a training partner. More than likely, you know their loved ones, you know their family, whether it's their wife and kids, their husband, whatever. And you are looking to cause damage to them, and you're looking to physically hurt them, and that's the thing that I think, you know, gets people stuck in that situation. They don't want to. I know what damage I'm taking. I know what type of damage I can inflict, and I don't necessarily want to do that to a friend. I don't want to, you know, cause possibly irreparable damage to a friend or a person who's coming over my house for birthday parties with my kids, or maybe our kids are hanging out on the weekends. I don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, it's whether it's I have the belt or my training partner has a belt. Right. It's something that I want, and I'm not going to take a step to the side or a step back for you to get your moment in the sun. Like that's something I want. I'm going to do everything I can to take that from you. Without
a doubt. Now you train in Philly, I think mostly with Kyle, and it's not like a big well-known gym, but let us know again, like where that is and what's the name of it and some of the people that have been working with you.
So I'm out of Northeast Philadelphia. The gym is Martinez BJJ. It's right at Cottman in Frankfurt. You know, we've been there for I've been with them for about 8 years now. So I've been with my head trainer for my whole career. So, you know, it's not a big school. I mean, we have other big name schools in the city. We have a very tight-knit core group of fighters. Maybe we have like 10 total fighters with pros and amateurs. And that's the type of culture that we want at the gym. We want a certain culture going in there. It doesn't matter who you are, as like we have kids who are just starting out who see that mindset and that drive that we have as professionals, and that drive and mindset that our coach Will Martinez has instilled in us. And if you're not a part of that, we don't want you. It's nothing personal, but we're striving for greatness. We want to be the best in the world. We want to prove to everyone, you know, in the world that you don't have to come from a big name gym. You don't have to come from, you know, no disrespect to the gyms, but like the biggest gyms in the world are like ATT, AKA, TriStar. Like there's no reason that you guys have to travel to those locations or be a part of those affiliations to make it to the UFC or be considered one of the best in the world. And that's just what we're trying to prove. And that's the culture that we're trying to instill in all the fighters that are at our place.
I like it. That's Martinez BJJ in Philly.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I know.
BJJ.
Fantastic. I know we got only about 2 minutes left with you. I'd love to get your quick predictions, maybe 30 seconds here. Since you're a heavyweight, I know that I don't think anything super big coming up. But you know what? Actually, light heavyweight over in Bellator, Joelle Romero going back up to light heavyweight for the first time in like 9 years. He's 43 years old. Rumble Johnson. I don't know why, but I just feel like Rumble Johnson knocks his block off, and possibly fast. But 4 years off though for Rumble though. I don't know. What do you think in that fight?
It's definitely it's an interesting matchup. I mean, like you said, Joelle has been the more active fighter. Rumble has been fighting at heavyweight, so it's kind of going to see how his body reacts, especially after the 4-year layoff. But Joelle, he never really seems to get hurt in any kind of fights. I mean, he got blasted with that huge head kick from Paulo Costa, and he was in those wars with Robert Whitaker, especially at 85. So the added weight is definitely going to do something. But I just think that Joelle is a little bit better in a lot of the aspects, and I think that he either grinds out a decision or he stops Rumble late in the third.
Interesting. Could very well be. How about another light heavyweight? How about Ryan Bader and Lyoto Machida? Probably Bader is a pretty big favorite. Yeah, it could be interesting, but Bader should win that, huh?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I think. I think the same thing is going to happen. I think Bader's his skill set has jumped very high, especially since going to Bellator. Especially when I think he won both the light heavyweight and the heavyweight belts.
Yep. Double champ.
Yeah, the double champ. I just think that he's able to corner Machida and then get him down and kind of just beat him up and just do what he wants.
Absolutely. And then last one real quick: Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal, number 2.
Usman all the way. I don't think that George has anything different from their first fight. Now, granted, it was on 11 days notice for both fighters, or 6 days notice, whatever it was on there.
Yep.
But I just think that Usman is just that much better. I honestly think that Usman is one of the best fighters in the world, and he's arguably at this time in his career, he's right up there with GSP. Maybe he just needs a couple more fights to prove that he has that longevity, just like GSP. But he's right there.
Awesome. Well, Chris Daukaus, I really appreciate you coming on. Your brother Kyle fighting April 10th. Yep, he's the third fight, so he's right below the co-main, I think, like you said. Can't wait to see him on there. Both of you guys are great guys. I'm from Michigan. I know you guys are much more East Coast than me, but we're always kind of considered East Coasters, at least by people from the West. So always like my good East Coast friends. I love brothers staying together. Man, yeah. So you keep doing what you're doing. Can't wait to see your brother take home the W here. And when you get a fight signed, man, let me know. And if you want to come on before or after, man, we'd love to have you back.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. It's finally great talking to you. I was watching my brother's interview. It was great. So thank you again. And once I figure everything out with what's going on with my career, you will definitely be the first to know.
Awesome. Really appreciate it, brother. Great talking to you.
Of course.
You have a great
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. That was Chris Daukaus. Daukaus brothers are great guys. Adam, that was cool that he watched the interview with his brothers, Kyle, and had good things to say about us, and much appreciated. Really, really good guys. And,
really good guys, and it's crazy how much they look like each other.
Yeah, they do. They're similar looking, yeah.
Especially now that he's got back in shape, like he was saying.
Yes, absolutely.
Great stories, though. And, I really wonder, it's like these guys that are police officers and some active military and firefighters and doing that, and then coming in and those are such physically active occupations.
Yes.
And I've heard of factory workers too, same situation really, but coming in and just doing all the training on top of that, it's got to be insane.
It's got to be. It's really dedicated guys and hard workers, and I support them a lot. Obviously, nobody supports bad police officers or violent police officers, but a majority of police officers, I think, are decent guys and girls that are.
Hey, I'll tell everybody the exact same thing. Listen, I back the blue at the same time. Bad officers, no.
Exactly. No support for bad officers. A lot of support for good officers that are just trying to do a good job and keep people safe. You
can't have both.
Yeah.
So.
No. And I would definitely believe the Daukaus brothers are good guys. And
100%
for sure. Anyway, I think we only have a few minutes. Do you want to do your?
Only a couple minutes, and I want to say thank you to all the guests for coming on. Thank you everybody for sticking around or making a point to actually catch us, even though we had a few technical difficulties. Make sure to head on over to Fight TV if you're on the Hannibal TV. It's FITE.TV. Just put that in your internet browser. I don't care whether it's Chrome or Internet Explorer or Edge or Firefox, or if you're using one of the old school Netscape Navigator. I don't care. Go on over to FITE.TV. Make sure to subscribe and share from there a little bit. And also make sure, if you're on Fight TV, to head on over to the Hannibal TV on YouTube. It is the Hannibal TV. Just put it in the search bar. Make sure to subscribe to his channel. Drop us any chat you would like, comment. whatever on all of our videos. And also thank you to Nesa's Hemp. Make sure to go on over to nesashemp.com, and it's actually for a better discount. Go to mmaph.nesashemp.com. Colin, thank you for another amazing episode. All of you guys are so amazing. I am tapping out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adam Roorda, for all you do. Shinta, thank you for the great comment saying it's a great show. We really appreciate you. Tell a friend, and look out for each other. Be that guy, be that girl. Spread the love in a positive way. Take care of your family, your coworkers, your friends, your neighbors. Take good care of your pets. They need and deserve the love they give.